حبيبنا محمد وعلى آله
AfriSoul presents Nickel Millionaire 2.0, where your dreams of becoming a millionaire can come true not once, but twice. In the first 2 months, one lucky AfriSoul subscriber will win a cool $1 million. Another lucky winner will take home another $1 million just 2 months after that. But wait, there's more. We've got loads of cash prizes to be won every week. Simply buy a minimum of $10 in credit or data. So the more you buy, the better your chances of hitting the jackpot. Nickel Millionaire 2.0. Join us every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 9 p.m. live on GRTS. AfriSoul, creating millionaires, changing lives.
Welcome to the future of transportation in the Gambia. The Bertel Harding Highway, a 22-kilometer double carriageway, is set to revolutionize travel and connectivity in our beloved country. For pedestrians, safety begins at the crossing. Use designated pedestrian crossings marked with patterned reflective signs known as cat eyes to ensure visibility and safety. Communities living along the highway must adapt to new safety measures.
Good evening and welcome to the Star TV Newsroom, broadcasting from our studios in Carnival, along the Bertel Harding Highway. I am Seydou Kamara. Here are the headlines. Gambia launches early warning for all initiative. Senegalese and Iranian ambassadors present credentials to President Barrow. Gambia participates an election watch committee called for restoration of Clause 14 to grant voting rights to Gambians in diaspora. Anadon Banner distribute iftar meals to patients at Edward Francis Small Teaching Hospital. NEA launches regional tour to strengthen enforcement of environmental laws. On the international, at least 14 Palestinians killed in overnight Israeli attacks on southern Gaza. Colombia's President Gustavo Petro rallies thousands to push stalled reforms. Those were the headlines, and now the news in detail. Many thanks for joining us, and now the news in detail. The Gambia on Wednesday launched the early warning initiative in a shift of approach from disaster response to anticipatory disaster management. More in this report.
Despite falling behind other countries in embracing early warning systems to prevent and minimize the impact of disasters on the population, the Gambia is now playing a catch-up. The country launched its first ever preemptive disaster initiative at the Sadauda Kairaba Jawara International Conference Center on Wednesday. National and international stakeholders have begun a 2-day meeting in Banjul to brainstorm on strategies for the robust implementation of the early warning for all initiatives as the Gambia remains in the front line of climate disasters. The country continues to experience extreme weather events such as flash floods and drought. The ideas behind this 2-day meeting include the consolidation of early warning systems and enhanced disaster preparedness and resilience in the Gambia. In his launch statement, the Executive Director of the National Disaster Management Agency, Mr. Sanadahaba, said,
I am honored to address this esteemed gathering at the launch of early warning for all initiatives in the Gambia. This initiative aims to ensure that everyone in the Gambia, especially those in high-risk areas, receives accurate and timely early warning information to prevent or minimize disaster losses and damages. including economic loss to our GDP.
Mr. Dahaba explained that in the collective drive to establish a robust disaster early warning systems, the focus will be directed to fostering inclusivity, synergizing preparedness and anticipation, technology and innovation and collaboration.
In our collective effort to set up an effective early warning system, we want to focus on few aspects, among them inclusivity. We want to focus ensuring that early warning information are accessible to all, especially the most vulnerable and marginalized members of our community. Preparedness, linked to anticipation. This will enable government and the Gambian communities at large to anticipate, prepare, and respond to disasters. Technology and innovation. Promote the use of technology in data collection, analysis, and sharing of early warning information disseminated in different languages for effective response and early recovery. Collaboration. Strengthening partnership between government and private and local community is essential to build a resilient community.
Speaking earlier, the UN Resident Coordinator Carl Frederick Paul said the Gambia stands at an important crossroads in the journey towards climate resilience and disaster risk reduction, but also towards development.
Science is clear. The Gambia faces increasing vulnerability to climate change impacts. Each rainy season brings floods that can destroy homes, wash away crops, contaminate water sources, but also disrupt the lives and livelihood of communities around and across the country. These disasters really affect the most vulnerable: women, children, elderly, and marginalized communities, which widens existing inequalities and threaten the hard-won development gains.
The Minister of Fisheries and Water Resources, Honorable Musa Drame, also delivered a statement at the launch of the Early Warning for All initiatives. He described the preceding two-day meeting of national and international stakeholders as a critical step in the collective efforts to strengthen Gambia's resilience to climate-related hazards and ensure the safety of well-being of all Gambian citizens.
As we all know, climate change is intensifying. The frequency and severity of extreme weather events, from floods and droughts to storms and rising sea levels. These threats not only endanger lives and livelihoods, but also pose significant risk to our economy, food security, and national development. It is therefore imperative that we strengthen our early warning systems to provide timely and actionable information to all communities, particularly those most vulnerable.
Honorable Drame said the government of the Gambia, through the Department of Water Resources, is fully committed to early warning for all initiatives, which aligns with Gambia's national climate resilience and disaster risk reduction strategies.
We are grateful to the World Meteorological Organization, WMO, other global leads, and our esteemed development partners for their generosity support in making this initiative a reality. This initiative seeks to ensure that every person in the Gambia, no matter where they live, receive accurate, timely, and accessible early warning information that enables them to take preventive action. To achieve this, we must work together to 1. Strengthen our national meteorological and hydrological services to provide accurate and real-time climate and weather data. 2. To enhance multi-hazard early warning systems to address risk from floods, droughts, and other climate-included disasters. 3. Improve coordination between government institutions, private sector, and community stakeholders to ensure that early warnings translate into effective preparedness and response. Expand the use of modern technology, including mobile alerts, digital platforms, and community-based communication networks to reach all citizens, including those in remote areas. 5, build capacity at all levels, from government agencies to local communities, ensuring that everyone understands early warnings and knows how to respond effectively.
The Vice President of the Republic of the Gambia, His Excellency Mohamed B.S. Jallow, for his part, said he was greatly honored to preside over the official launch of early warning for all initiatives, describing it as a significant steps in the Gambia's ongoing efforts to enhance climate resilience and disaster risk reduction.
We are all aware that the Gambia, like many other nations, is increasingly vulnerable to the negative impacts of climate change. Therefore, rising temperatures, erratic rainfall, flooding, coastal erosion, and prolonged droughts continue to threaten households and communities' way of life. These challenges call for urgent and decisive action to strengthen our national early warning systems and disaster risk management strategies.
For Star TV News, this is Mumuru Bailabare.
The Iranian and Senegalese ambassadors on Wednesday presented their credentials to the Gambian leader at State House in Banjul. A significant step in bolstering international relations was taken at the State House in Banjul. Mori El Baji reports.
Her Excellency Mariam C., the new Senegalese ambassador to the Gambia, presented her credential to the Gambian president, reaffirming deep-rooted bilateral cooperation between the two neighboring nations. Following a private meeting with President Barrow, Ambassador C. addressed the press, expressing commitment to further strengthen the strong ties between Banjul and Dakar. She conveyed her salutation to President Barrow and his cabinet.
waaw xam nga diggante ñaari réew yi damay naan toujours mbokk la bokk la mbokk gi mooy xeet bi benn la bokk bi mooy yàlla.
It's an honor to serve as the ambassador of Senegal to the Gambia. Our nations share a long history of cooperation and friendship, and I am committed to working tirelessly to enhance our partnership in all areas of mutual interest.
pour ñu jëm kanam ñaari réew yëpp gis ci seen bopp jëm kanam dama ciy taxaw. amul fu may bàyyi jàpp fii bàyyi fee yëpp am importance pour man.
Shortly after, His Excellency Hassan Asghari, the ambassador designated of the Republic of Iran, also presented his letters of credence to President Barrow. Ambassador Asghari described the resumption of the diplomatic ties between Tehran and Banjul as a blessing. He highlighted the strong religious and cultural ties between the two countries.
Today is starting with the Ramadan, is a good time for myself as an ambassador of the Islamic Republic of Iran to starting a new phase of relation, and I'm with support of Honorable President and my dear colleague Honorable Minister to by most energy we try to our best to promote and deepen and expand our relation in different fields, economically, politically, culturally and religiously, and also all other industrially and other fields. So I'm so optimistic for our future relation between Iran and Gambia. There are a lot of capability and opportunity for both countries. And I have to mention this point, Gambia now, after chair or presidency of the OIC, so it's a different position, getting a very high position, especially in the Islamic world, not only Islamic world, in the world also. And all African country has now is in this position, and I wish all the best, inshallah.
The Iranian ambassador's remarks reflect a renewed focus on diplomatic relations between Iran and the Gambia, emphasizing the importance of cultural and religious connection in fostering stronger ties. For Star TV, I am Mutu El Baji.
In a bid to ensure the enfranchisement of Gambians living abroad, Gambia participates and the Election Watch Committee have united in their call for the reintroduction of Clause 14 in the Elections Bill, which was expunged by the National Assembly recently. The Gambia Participates and the Election Watch Committee articulated that every eligible Gambian should have the constitutional right to vote, regardless of their geographical location. Mariam Adem reports.
Section 39 of the 1997 Constitution of the Gambia states that every Gambian aged 18 or older is entitled to register as a voter and participate in public elections and referenda. This constitutional provision implies that eligible Gambians should be included on the voter roll, regardless of their residency status. In April 2021, the Supreme Court mandated the Independent Electoral Commission, IEC, to comply with this section by allowing eligible Gambians living abroad to vote in public elections. In response to the Supreme Court ruling, the IEC integrated Clause 14 in the Elections Bill 2021, which provided a framework for the registration and voting of Gambians in the diaspora. The bill also proposed granting the IEC the authority to establish rules and regulations for selecting countries where Gambians abroad could vote and appointing election officials in those locations. After passing the first and second readings and undergoing committee consultations, the bill reached the consideration stage in Parliament, where each clause is subjected to review and potential amendment. However, during the start of the consideration of the Elections Bill on March 4, 2025, members of the National Assembly voted against Clause 14, with 14 in favor and 25 opposed. Legislators who supported the removal argued that allowing diaspora voting will contradict Section 88, subsection 1A of the 1997 Constitution, which stipulates that eligible voters must cast their ballots in one of the 53 constituencies within the country. They contended that if diaspora voting is to be permitted, it will necessitate the establishment of a separate constituency for Gambians living abroad. This decision has ignited a heated debate within the country, with opinions sharply divided. While some support the legislator's stance, others vehemently oppose it. In light of this controversy, Gambia participates, along with the Election Watch Committee, on Wednesday, March 19, 2025, held a press conference to express their discontent over the National Assembly's decision to exclude Clause 14 from the Elections Bill, which previously allowed Gambians in the diaspora to register and vote from abroad. During the presser, a position paper was presented by Marnyang, the founder and executive director of Gambia Participates, who emphasized the importance of allowing Gambians abroad to exercise their voting rights.
Deleting Clause 14 violates constitutional rights. By removing this clause, the National Assembly directly violates Section 39 of the 1997 Constitution, which guarantees voting rights to all citizens of the Gambia that are eligible to vote. The IEC is prevented from fulfilling its constitutional and legal obligations. Gambians abroad who contribute significantly to national development are unjustly disenfranchised. This creates a dangerous precedent where any Gambian who moves abroad automatically loses their voting rights. Best practices globally and regionally demonstrate that diaspora voting is possible without requiring separate constituencies. Gambians abroad can be registered under their birth constituencies or former places of residence, as permitted by Section 12 of the Elections Act.
The organizations argues that the removal of Clause 14 represents a direct infringement on the constitutional rights of Gambians living overseas and a blatant disregard for the Supreme Court's ruling. This decision effectively disenfranchises nearly 250,000 Gambians abroad, many of whom have long fought for the right to participate in national elections and contribute significantly to the country's economy. Gambia Participate is therefore calling for the immediate reintroduction of Clause 14 with minor amendments to facilitate the participation of Gambians abroad in the upcoming 2026 presidential election and future referenda.
Call to action to members of the Parliament. Number one is to reintroduce Clause 14 with minor adjustments. Substitute the word shall with may in Clause 14.2 of the Elections Bill. To ensure IEC discretion in consulting with Cabinet and the Inter-Party Committee, which must not be a legal obligation upon the Election Management Body. 2. Maintain presidential election and referenda. Keep within bounds diaspora voting to presidential election and referenda for now. Removing ambiguous wording such as, and I quote, or any other elections as determined by the Constitution or any other law, from Clause 14.2. This will at least remove any ambiguity and accommodate diaspora to vote in subsequent presidential elections and referendums until such time when the necessary legal framework to facilitate the diaspora to vote in local and constituency elections are established. Uphold constitutional and democratic obligations. Failure to reinstate Clause 14 with amendment will perpetuate an unconstitutional system that denies Gambians abroad their rights, set a regressive precedent for future electoral laws.
Former GPU President Mohamed MS Ba, Yankuba Manjang, coordinator of the Election Watch Committee, and Saliu Tal, chairman of Gambia Participate, have all voiced their concerns regarding the National Assembly's action. While the deletion of Clause 14 has drawn widespread condemnation, it presents an opportunity for political and constitutional stakeholders to collaborate on necessary reforms. This clause was seen as a vital step towards ensuring that all qualified Gambians could participate in their country's electoral processes, irrespective of where they reside. One potential solution, according to Gambia Participate, involves amending Section 4A of the 2024 draft Constitution to increase the number of constituencies from 43 to a more representative figure, reflecting the Gambia diaspora's population across the globe. Another alternative, the matter could be addressed through an act of the National Assembly, ensuring that all Gambians, regardless of their location, have a voice in their country's democratic processes. Maria Madem, reporting for Star TV News.
The association under Don Bena on Monday distributed iftar meals to patients at the Edward Francis Small Teaching Hospital in Banjul. The objective of this food aid was to bring comfort and nourishment to the patients. More in this report by Maria Tuture.
Under Don Bena Association was founded less than a year ago with the overarching mission of promoting financial independence among its members and to actively involve charitable work. The distribution of these iftar meals to the patients at the country's main referral hospital was part of iftar food distribution initiative across Banjul to support Muslims. Fatoumata Job, the president of the association, mentioned that giving out charity in Ramadan is rewarding for every Muslim.
We
see that we are in Ramadan, and as a Muslim, if you have, then you should give out charity. This is why we cook and bring food to the hospital.
Pa Malik Juve, vice president of the association, urged people to follow their footsteps by doing good and giving out charity.
Emulate si gesto yu bax yo xamné ni jang ko def for mankind because li nekut pour ñun or pour ken pour ñep.
We should try and do good things for mankind. If you give out charity, you will be rewarded. Doing good is important.
So fi sabilillah la pour ñu mut umma bi affaire ci ega ci ñep dal lé wañu tam ñu try tamin parce que nit ki alé la mo do ko forcer waye def lu baax dafa baax you know def lu baax dafa baax.
Binta SM Jaite, Kampama ward councillor, expressed delight in the association's kind gesture and she prayed that God will help them.
Man hana di len gërem di len santa ndik li initiative bo xamne la dimbale islam lum santane.
I appreciate the efforts of the association. It is very good if you give iftar to a person. They are not doing it for profit, but because they want God to help them. May God help them.
Saini Bamba, Assistant Secretary of the association, stated that the iftar will give nourishment to the patient.
Tay so xolé ñu choose l'hôpital bi dafa nekk area bu nga xamné daf dé bëri nit patients yi dañ fi dé nekk sen escorte dañ fi dé nekk té time ndogu daf leen fi dé mëna féka té légui ñun ndogu bu.
We choose the hospital because patients are many there, and if we eat here, they will not be able to provide that in the hospital. Ramadan is a month of giving.
Ñu xam baneexi wéru koor bi xam ñuy bokk ak ñom tamit seen métit bokk ak ñom tamit su baneexi mo nga xamne mo nekk wéru koor bi su ko defé nga xamne ñom dinañ fil ne ba légui ñu ngi bokk ci ñun ndax amé fi patient rek dafa métti té wéru koor wéri promotion la ba paré wéru koor wéri julli di la dañ ci tamba di joxe.
The association encouraged people to engage in charitable acts. The iftar event at Banjul Hospital serve as an example of how collective efforts can uplift the community, especially during Ramadan. Reporting for Star TV News, I am Maria Tuture.
As the national body entrusted with implementing environmental laws and regulations, the Gambia's National Environment Agency commenced a regional tour on Monday aimed at reinforcing compliance and collaborating with local authorities. The tour's first leg took place in the Lower River region, where the NEA engaged key stakeholders to address ongoing sensitization efforts regarding environmental law enforcement. This initiative is part of the broader strategy to ensure sustainable environmental management and core practices that endanger public health and ecosystem. More in this report.
The tour's first leg took place in the Lower River region, where the NEA engaged key stakeholders to address ongoing sensitization efforts regarding environmental law enforcement. This initiative is part of a broader strategy to ensure sustainable environmental management and curb practices that endanger public health and ecosystems. In his remarks, Landing B. Sane, chairman of the Mansa Konko Area Council, lauded the NEA for its dedication to maintaining environmental cleanliness as a means of mitigating pollution, combating climate change, and preventing health hazards linked to environmental neglect. Sane further urged the agency to strengthen partnerships with stakeholders to address pressing environmental challenges affecting both humans and wildlife.
We all know the people cannot go without the environment, and the people live within the environment. And that environment needs to be jealously protected so that it is to the best of all of us. We know where an environment is tampered and is polluted, it becomes hazardous. And that becomes threat to our survival and to our living as human beings. So it is incumbent on all of us as a chairman, whether a chairman, a councillor, a National Assembly member, a president, a minister, we all live within an environment. So we all have a responsibility to protect and safeguard that environment for the best interest of all of us.
Deputy Governor of LRR, Mumudu Kamara, expressed strong support for the NEA's enforcement measures and called on the public to adhere to these regulations. Kamara highlighted key issues such as the unauthorized sales of chemicals and the use of plastic bags, stressing the importance of collective responsibility in combating these challenges.
So I'm urging the women from the garden, or even men, everybody who is making garden or farm, please, before you buy any chemical, I think you have to liaise with the NEA so that they can advise you what to do. And I will advise them also to use these local manuals, alternatives, and that is will give more weight to, will give you more weight to what you are doing. Because when you go to these gardens, most of them, we use these chemicals. And what we are going to eat, whether they grow there, the vegetables they grow, we're going to consume them also. And that is not good for us. So I'm advising them to use these local chemicals, manure, or have an advice from the NEA so that they can advise you accordingly.
The NEA, in collaboration with the Gambia Police Force and other partners, has recently intensified efforts to enforce environmental regulations nationwide. This campaign focuses on critical areas, including the ban of single-use plastic bags, anti-littering laws, environmental impact assessments, and hazardous chemical and pesticides management regulations. Ken Mendy, Police Commissioner at the Mansa Konko Area Council, emphasized the shared obligation of citizens to maintain environmental cleanliness, urging the police to cooperate with the agency's initiatives.
2 weeks back, officers embarked on enforcing these environmental laws together with the national environment. And though they were culprits, but it was very minimal. And the general public have to know that still now these laws are existing. So each and every individual, you have to respect the laws of the land so that at least you will not have push and pull with the enforcers. Because whenever you offend the environment, it means that you offend the book. And this laws is already enacted, and each and every individual have to respect the laws of the environment.
His sentiments were echoed by Sheikh Al-Kinki Sanyang, Director of Environmental Education and Communications at the NEA, who described the environmental challenges as significant barriers to national development. Sanyang underscored the importance of engaging local stakeholders in enforcement efforts to ensure the success of the initiative.
The National Environment Agency, we trekked all over the country, canvassed support from local authorities, chiefs, alcalos, and many others, called them to a convergence at different governors' office in all the regions in the country, talk to them so that they can also sensitize and talk to their people to minimize the impact of environmental disasters and all depletions that we are facing. Currently, from the anti-littering regulations down to the ban on plastic bags, going to the devastating effects of real estate developers. And of course, there are some horse cars, donkey cars, trucks, and other trucks, other vehicles that are used as a mean of transporting waste, gravel or sand. And in the due process, they are not covered.
This enforcement campaign reflects the Gambian government's and NEA's unwavering commitment to environmental protection. It aligns the national objectives to reduce plastic pollution, regulate climate usage, and tackle other environmental issues threatening the nation's health and future prosperity. For Star TV News, this is Maimuna Jaju.
We will take a short break from there. The news will continue with news beyond our borders.
Walk into any Africell outlet and purchase the Africell 5 Mbps mega bundles for $3,300 and receive a CPE router for free.
You open a car, mandem na auto suma boste Africell rek.
Buy the Africell 4 Mbps mega bundle for $2,700 at any Africell outlet and get a MiFi for free. No time for buffering. Speed. Lenoir.
We've got fantastic new social media bundles just for you.
Stay connected with your favorite platforms like WhatsApp, Viber, X, Snapchat, Facebook, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok with our new social media bundles. You can now get 50 megabytes for $10 is valid for 1 day.
Enjoy 400 megabytes for $40 valid for 7 days.
Get a massive 1,200 megabytes for $100 only, valid for 7 days.
Simply dial *120# and press 3 to pick the social media bundle that suits you best.
Welcome to the future of transportation in the Gambia. The Bertel Harding Highway, a 22-kilometer double carriageway, is set to revolutionize travel and connectivity in our beloved country. For pedestrians, safety begins at the crossing. Use designated pedestrian crossings marked with patterned reflective signs known as cat eyes to ensure visibility and safety. Communities living along the highway must adapt to new safety measures.
Welcome back after that short break. If you are just tuning in, this is Star TV News. Now on international news. A second night of Israeli attacks on Gaza has killed at least 14 Palestinians. It comes after 429 people were killed across the strip on Tuesday. In the past few hours, strikes have hit Gaza City in the north, as well as Khan Yunus and Rafah in the south. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says this is only the beginning. He says any future negotiations with Hamas will take place only under fire. The attacks comes after nearly 2 months of relative calm under a ceasefire brokered by Qatar, Egypt, and the US. Al Jazeera's Hind Khodri has the latest developments from Al-Aqsa Hospital in Deir el-Balah in central Gaza, Palestine.
At least 14 Palestinians have been killed overnight, with dozens of others injured. The Israeli forces attacked houses and also attacked tents where Palestinians were sheltering after being displaced during the war. Now, what we need to know is those Palestinians who are still sheltering in those tents are people who did not find any place to go to and to live. And among those who were killed in the tents is a pregnant mother with her child. Now, the situation continues to escalate as the Israeli forces continue to target different areas across the Gaza Strip. We're talking about the south, the center, and the northern parts. In the past hour, the Israeli forces also dropped leaflets on the northern parts of the Gaza Strip, especially at Beit Hanun, asking Palestinians to evacuate, and also dropped leaflets on Khan Yunis and also asked Palestinians to evacuate to the western parts of Al-Mawasi. But this time, Palestinians, especially those in Beit Hanun and in the northern parts, decided not to evacuate because they say they do not have anything to lose and they will not repeat the displacement journey and all the circumstances they have been going through during the war. Now, what we also need to know is all of this is happening as the Israeli authorities continue to close the Rafah crossing and also the Karam Abu Salim crossing, banning the entry of any food supplies, any humanitarian aid, fuel, cooking gas, or medicine into the Gaza Strip.
Hind, thank you very much for your reporting. That's Al Jazeera's Hind Khodari reporting from Deir el-Balah there.
A Colombian Senate committee has rejected labor reforms backed by President Gustavo Petro, which had formed key planks in his election campaign. They were aimed at improving workers' conditions and protections, but business leaders balk at the cost they said will come with the changes. Al Jazeera's Alexandro Rampiti reports from Bogota, Colombia.
A make-or-break moment for Colombia's embattled President Gustavo Petro. Tens of thousands of supporters of the country's first leftist leader took to the streets of the capital Bogota and other cities across the country. They waved flags and chanted slogans in support of the administration's signature labor and health reforms that have been bogged down in a hostile Congress.
The decisions Congress is making do not reflect the people's will. With these actions, we want to make clear that most people support the government's reforms and believe they should be approved.
With little more than a year left in office, Petro is trying to salvage his legacy after failing to bring about the change he promised in a country that remains among the most unequal in Latin America. His labor reform, which among other measures would have given workers extra pay for working overnight, Sundays and public holidays, was rejected on Tuesday in a Senate commission, blocking it from reaching a vote on the Senate's floor. As